hear that? Neither can I. This poor bald eagle is injured and it needs help. But that's why we're here. So this 2010 Camaro came in. Dude had already taken the fender and the bumper off. I don't know, maybe he was just too sad looking at it, but I think he just hit something up on the passenger side front corner here. This little brace for the bumper's got a little buckle in it, and these inner fender liners got pretty shredded up on both sides. So I don't know if he just ran over like a javelina or a person or something, but he brought us a new cover that I'm pretty sure has been sitting out in the backyard or something for a few months, so it's looking a little bit crusty already. We got the fender that was probably sitting in the mud next to it. These are always fun because you never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates. Most of the time those things show up pretty hammered from the box. They're all dented, and sometimes the tabs and stuff are bent and whatever. So I'm gonna get started de-trimming. I'll probably just prep the hood first real quick, just because it sounds fun. But process on this is probably gonna be blend on the door. So I gotta remove mirror and handle. I'm not gonna touch the pillar. We're gonna probably spray the entire hood, just a coat or two, just for color, uniformity across the front end, because the front bumper actually meets up with this whole front section along the nose. And then make sure that the bumper color up against this fender is good. I'll blend across into the fender a little bit on the nose, and I'll blend across on the top of the fender up here. I got a nice sharp body line that runs all the way across, so that'll give me a good spot to kind of just blend off into even probably just a half coat of color across the nose of this. Would do the job perfectly fine. This is an interesting color. It's called lava orange. I can definitely tell it's a little bit sun faded. The top of the car is like noticeably lighter than the bottom. So it's going to be an interesting match, but there is a very, very, very fine pearl metallic. Apparently it's just a two-stage, not a tri-stage color. We'll see how it sprays. It might be an interesting one to blend. It might be super easy. It might be a little bit of a pain in the ass. So let's get started. It's 5 a.m. It's the best time to work on cars. When you can't even comprehend a sentence. When you can't even speak right. Right? Right? So the first part of the prep on this hood and all the blend panels is just a dry sand by machine with 800 grit. I don't like to go any heavier on metallics. You just risk like getting sand scratches and stuff in your blend areas, and I'm not intending to put any sealer or primer on the hood, so I don't want to cut it too aggressive, because the base coat needs to essentially go straight over top of this. What I did was leave a little bit of orange peel, because if you cut it too smooth, you also run the risk of the hood or any of the blend panels being way too flat in relation to the rest of the car. And it might be kind of hard to see on the video, but the whole car has kind of, still that factory orange peel on it. And so the hood and everything needs to match that. And essentially laying down the clear on top of a surface that's way smoother than the other parts is going to tend to make these panels come out too flat. So I normally leave a little bit of orange peel when I do my dry sanding. And then right now I'm gonna go around with a gray Scotch pad and some Scuff Stuff. And I'm gonna use this to just make the surface all nice and uniform. It's gonna get down in those little divots for the orange peel, and it's gonna scuff in there, and it's also gonna get all these edges and stuff, so I don't have to worry about accidentally burning through with the DA. If you guys didn't know, these little hand sanding blocks also work really well as a wet sanding squeegee. So if you're not familiar with products like Scuff Stuff, I did one section here with it, and this section here is done with just the DA. And you can look real close and see the little bits of orange peel in here that still have a tiny bit of gloss to them. And just for adhesion purposes, obviously we don't want to leave all that stuff shiny, and you do really risk cutting through an edge with just a regular piece of sandpaper. So using the Scuff Stuff with the gray pad lets us get down in all those little divots, lets us get around all these edges, make sure that everything's real nice and smooth. And it also simultaneously works as like a degreaser and cleaner. The suds and the foam really lift all the contaminants and stuff off the surface and really help just make sure that everything's nice and clean. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. If you don't use stuff like that, pick some up, because it is definitely a game changer on blend panels and bumper covers and other plastic parts like that. It's almost a necessity on those parts. I gotta get this mirror and this door handle off. I've taken the door panels and stuff off one of these Camaros before, so if I remember right, it wasn't too bad, but I don't really remember how to do it. So we'll just figure out as we go along. That was annoying, but anyone who knows me will tell you that I absolutely hate D-trim, and this was no exception. Most of the time I just have Brandon do it. He's not here yet. But door panel and stuff came off pretty easy. The mirror has 3 10mm bolts that you access from the other side, but then the wire routes all the way down, comes out through the panel, which I didn't know. So I took the speaker out so that I could see where the wire ran before I just started yanking on stuff and accidentally break something. I like to do things like this that just save me time later down the road. So I wrapped that around the connector for the mirror, and then pulled it through and then disconnected it, and I hooked the baling wire on here and then on the back side on the door panel. So when I go to reinstall the mirror, I can just hook this onto the connector, fish it through, it'll route the wire correctly, and then I don't have to spend 20-30 minutes, messing with trying to get the wire ran the right way in there. And most of the time these handles just have the one bolt on the side, and then the lock mechanism pops out, and then you slide this backwards and it pops the handle open. But for some reason, there's a little, it's hard to see, there's like a plastic cylinder piece back there, and it seems like it's blocking the handle from going backwards. So I gotta figure out what's up with that, but for now I just have it taped off. I do need to take the handle off, just because I don't like to paint these with these style of handles on, because you can't get back behind here very well. So I guess we'll just get to cleaning and sanding and stuff and deal with taking off the handle in a little while when I feel more up to it. The door is all prepped out, same as the hood, all edged out. I did notice that looks like the fender might have slid back and touched it a little bit in the accident. So there's a little tiny chip on the edge right here. I'll probably feather that out with some 800, and it's gonna get painted over anyway because I'm gonna be blending back into the door. So I'll get enough paint on there to cover it up. So all we got left now is the fender. I already took and warmed these up with the heat gun, and then took a little thin piece of fishing line behind here and cut the emblems off. So I'm gonna clean all this adhesive goop up and then do the same thing on the fender. And then all the panels for blending are all prepped out. And the old man's over here getting all set up with the bumper cover and the fender. He's gonna get those ready to shoot too. All the blend panels are prepped up, ready to go. There's a few little spots here and there, some rock chips and things that I'm gonna probably go around with the touch-up pen and just dab a little bit of color in for them so that they don't stand out like crazy when it's all painted. There was a weird little circle right here on the hood that the paint was all cracking, and I think it feathered out, surprisingly. And then, where was it? There was a spot down here with a tiny little scratch that someone had put like a big old pile of touch-up paint on top of. So I went ahead and sanded all the touch-up paint off of it, and I'm gonna just touch a little bit of, be a little bit more precise with it than they were. And I'm gonna get these bumper covers prepped up now. This one's pre-primed, which I don't like, but that's what happens when the customer supplies the parts, right? We're gonna probably just tap it with 800 grit on the DA, and then a little bit by hand, and then Scotch pad with the Scuff Stuff, degrease the crap out of it, degrease the crap out of it again. This one, we need to sand all this Ecoat off with some 150, and then I'm gonna put a couple coats of Epoxy Primer down on that just to lock it down and have a nice foundation for the sealer coat and stuff to stick to. And we'll just go around with some paper by hand and sand up all these edges and corners as best we can. Got it all prepped out in 800. There's a few spots with little nicks and chips and stuff from the pack rat horde that lived inside of it in the guy's backyard. So I just put a little bit of glazing putty. I'm letting it cure up, and then I'll level it all out. But we got it all edged and ready to go. Food! Here's the fender. So I get a lot of gripe sometimes from other painters who are like, why you always rip all the Ecoat off these things? You don't have to do that, right? The Ecoats adhere just fine, it's okay, right? But in my eyes, I don't trust those coatings, right? This could be, a really good quality fender. They could have put some decent stuff on there. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know. And that coating could already be a couple years old. It could be all hardened and locked up. And I can't tell you how many times I see people driving around town with their fender or their front bumper, and
all the paint's flaking off it, and you can see where they scuffed the Ecoat, and they thought it was gonna stick just fine, and nothing stuck. So I always just play it on the safe side, because in this industry, you don't make any money if you gotta redo stuff. So I go ahead and just rip it all off. We went around it with 150 grit and just got the metal all conditioned real nice. Scuffed up this stuff as best we could, but aside from like, you know, media blasting this or something, you can't get it all off. But still, this is leaps and bounds better than leaving the Ecoat on there and just trying to go over top of it. So we're gonna mix up some epoxy right now, 2 coats, and then let it cure up for a little while, a couple days, and then we'll give it a little scuff. The epoxy still will be open at the time we shoot it, but yeah, that way it just gives us a nice solid foundation to put the top coat and everything on. Using the good old LumaBase. This stuff's 1-to-1, it's pretty dope. It actually sands pretty well for an epoxy. Some of the epoxies get real gummy and stuff, and they stay that way and they never sand good. We're gonna put it on with the 100, with the 1.4. And this stuff, I spray it around 25, 26, 27 PSI. And it lays out pretty well. Most epoxies don't lay out super smooth. This one's not really any different in those regards, but I think the old man's gonna try to shoot this one. He hasn't picked up the gun in years. So that'll be pretty cool. Hopefully get him stoked on painting again. I don't know.
So we're taking this thing over to the paint store right now because the gas door is missing. I don't know where it is, and the mirrors are all sun faded, so I can't take a mirror for a color match. I'm not about to go through all the trouble of like unbolting one of these fenders because there's a million bolts. The next best thing is to just drive the car over there, and then I'll be able to do a match on the adjacent panels anyway, because some of the stuff on this side's been repainted before. So I'm probably gonna do a match on that A-pillar up there, and just to make sure that we get a nice cohesive color and everything blends out. When I do blends, I like to get the color match at least 90% because it just makes doing the blend like a million times easier. Just replicating the hues of the sun so that I can get a more accurate idea of what the color is going to look like. It's got to lighten up a little bit. Aside from that, I don't really hate it actually.
Yeah, I've definitely seen worse, because your air pressure can pull that little bit of, you know, because it's a little flatter. But your air pressure can probably pull that pearl up, or even a little bit of flop control or something. It's not bad.
Good, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't want to complain about it, dude. It's not bad. I think with a little bit more air pressure, you'll pull the pearl up a little bit more too. It's not bad, dude. That's pretty. That's a painted chip too, so yeah, it's not lying to you. Yeah, you're right.
What do you think, bro? Blendable all day, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely blendable. Definitely, dude.
Good news is the chip is totally blendable, and we don't have to mess around with the color match. Bad news is they're out of the primary toner that they need to make the paint, so I gotta go to their other location and pick up some toner for them so they can actually mix it up.
We got everything all masked up. I like to get the masking plastic super tight and everything. I don't like it flopping around when I'm painting. And I'm sure if you guys are painters or have painted stuff before with this plastic, you know that it can be a great time saver, but it can ruin your paint job too. If you leave a little edge or something loose and it sticks into your fresh clear, you're pretty much screwed at that point. So I always like to put these little 2x4s on the floor and tape everything down real tight, make sure it's pulling all the slack out of it, and you know, get this thing super pulled back and whatever, so it's not super floppy. Helps the job come out a little bit cleaner too. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go around in the blend areas, and you can see there's a few little chips and stuff, just, you know, from the wear and tear on the car. There's like a really nasty little one right there that someone had a bunch of touch-up paint globbed over. I'm just gonna go around and just lightly touch a tiny bit of base coat down in those. That way when I shoot the clear over them, because they are after all just blend panels, I'm not gonna be taking the base coat all the way to the panel edge. So just to touch that stuff up a little bit so it's not super noticeable, because it is gonna get clear coated over. So I don't want it, you know, standing out like crazy. It's just that extra little bit, you know, make sure that the customer's super happy with the job. So I'm gonna do that. We're gonna get the loose parts loaded in the back of the booth over here. I normally like to work, I keep all my blend stuff up towards the front of the booth. The airflow is traveling back this way, so it's gonna keep all the overspray from coming back up here and getting all over my blend stuff. So these pieces need to get painted edge to edge and just completely laid out with base. So all this stuff can sit further back behind the car, and if it gets a little bit overspray from the car, it's not that big a deal. There you have it, folks. We went around with single step color correcting glaze, and we hit all the adjacent panels. We actually did pretty much the entire car. Some of the scratches and stuff are really deep, and it's got like some bird poop that like etched the paint and stuff like that. And it's obvious that the paint was not very well taken care of. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm not getting paid to color correct the car, but it did shine up pretty good. I got these window trim pieces reshot. Those came out super slick. You can see the front ends all back together. The color match was almost dead nuts, actually. You can see right here, this is actually a panel paint because I didn't blend up into the pillar. So that's new color versus old color right there. And then the blend on the door came out phenomenal. Can't see anything wrong with that. Maintained the color right here. These actually, from the factory, have a problem with the quarter panel not matching the door. I don't know if it's considered a recall, but it's actually because of the angle of the quarter, how it meets the door. It always changes. It gives the illusion that the color is actually different from panel to panel because of how aggressive they meet up with one another. You can see there. But all in all, man, for a 3.5 day turnaround, came out pretty snazzy. I think the guy will be super happy. And it's on to the next one. I think gonna help Ariel prep out her Miata right now. So you guys should probably head over to her channel and check that out.